So I think the seat at the table is just realizing that you really truly can do anything. It sounds cliche, that you put your mind to, but as long as you do the homework and prepare, you can have a really, really successful career, but you got to work hard.
Welcome to another episode of Grab Coffee with me, where great conversations and even better coffee or tea meet purpose, leadership, and the people making a real impact in their communities and industries. This episode is caffeinated by Dialed In Golf Solutions, your choice for portable golf experiences. Today's guest is a leader whose work reaches far beyond the golf course. She plays a major role in the most colorful event on the PGA Tour and has helped shape its impact here in the Tampa Bay area. Her career path is a powerful example of what it looks like to step into spaces where you may not always see yourself represented and still lead with confidence and purpose. As one of the first women to hold her role on the PGA Tour, she's redefining what leadership in sports can look like. We're talking about career path, leadership, community impact, and why belonging isn't something you wait for, it's something that you claim. Please help me welcome the tournament director of the Valspar Championship and the EVP of the PGA Tour Division of Pro Link Sports, Tracy West. Tracy, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Ian. How are you?
I am doing well. I really look forward to this conversation. And I know that you're not a coffee person and that you're a tea person. So you're supposed to educate me on tea. And I got tea today. Blueberry Bliss Oolong Valspar Championship. I love it. So what are you drinking this morning?
I am
Yeah.
drinking my tea concoction that I do every morning. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
on a kick of Harney and Sons tea, and it's tea. And then I add Truvia. I add a ton of skim milk. I love milk in my tea. I add Mancua honey. This is like the premium honey in the world. This is like big bucks. But I add a big old honking spoon of
Huh?
Mancuna honey in this. Then I will add cinnamon of some sort. Right now I do this,
Wow.
but cinnamon, and then I'll put collagen. It's
It's
quite
everything.
a concoction in here.
Now, how many of those do you have a day? Is it just the one?
Usually just the one, but sometimes two. Especially
Okay.
as the Valspar
Yeah,
Championship
yes.
approaches, it's sometimes three.
So when I see that cup Valspar week, I know exactly what's in it. So what
Exactly.
did you get? Where do you get that honey from? Is that something that you order
I ordered
online
it
or?
online. It comes from
Okay.
Australia. So yeah, it is. There's different values of it. The MCGs or MGCs. It's it's big stuff, but it's
Nice.
really good. So give it a
Nice.
try sometime.
Nice. All right, cool. So now that we already covered the important stuff, let's jump into your career. So take us back to the start of your career. What path led you to professional golf and eventually becoming a tournament director?
Yeah, it was not something I expected nor even imagined
Mhm,
growing up. So when I graduated from my master's from Michigan
mhm,
State, I went and worked for in the insurance industry for 3 years in project management, basically actuarial work. So my
mhm,
background was in finance and economics. And then for about 8 months, I worked for a company called Herman Miller. I was
mhm.
did their forecasting, economic forecasting models. But on the side, I worked or volunteered at a senior PGA Tour event. So I'm dating myself. So this was the late 80s, early 90s. Um, and volunteered at a senior PGA Tour tournament and loved it. I was
Mhm.
in a leadership role, a committee chairperson role, and there was about 15 of us maybe that really operated the tournament because there was only a staff of two. So really, the committee chairs like really had serious responsibility, and I loved it. And when the PGA Tour was going to start a senior tour event in Minnesota in 1992, they hired an executive director who I work with still today when we found
Okay,
Pro League
great.
Sports together. So he's our
Mhm.
CEO. And he came over to interview a couple of us for a role, actually a friend of mine for the role, but I met him and we spent maybe 3 or 5 minutes together, maybe three different times, and ate dinner one night during tournament week. And he called me that Monday morning and offered me the job and said, "Do you want to leave corporate America and come help me start this tournament?" And I did. And that's so that was
Is
October 19th, 1992.
Wow. So that's elite. That's a big jump. Did you have support? Did your family support the decision? Did they not agree with the
Yeah, yeah.
decision? How did that work?
Yes, Mike and I had been, married, I don't know, about 3 years, 5 years actually, I guess, at that
Mhm.
point, and, he said, "Yeah, let's do this." So we left Michigan and we moved. It was pre-kids, and moved and took the chance. Then here we are. Hollis and I started, we had a great year that first year, and it's kind of a fun story. Sunday night got done, and
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
huge success, because you
Mhm.
have to remember, so this was coming off of the '91 US Open at Hazeltine.
Okay.
Huge success. Minnesotans love their golf.
Mhm.
So the tournament was very, very successful its first year, and the head of the senior tour at the time, a fellow by the name of Bruno Henning, and a couple others rules officials, we were having, let's just say, a beer, um, Sunday night after play in the rules trailer, and they made a comment, like, not flippantly, but just kinda said, "Gosh, we wish you guys ran more of these." In Hollis, it's like that light bulb moment, and there's only a few of those in life sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It was a light bulb moment. Hollis and I both looked at each other and were like, "We could do this. Why couldn't we do this?" So we talked to the 2 hospitals, which were our host organization for the senior tour event, and said, "Listen, if you wanna keep us, we're gonna start a company. We'll still operate this one, but we're gonna start to manage other ones." And we built over the years ProLinks into basically the largest, management company on the Champions Tour. Now we have obviously, several PGA Tour events too.
Yeah, that's great. I need to do a better job at the introduction because I failed to say loving wife and mother, but I'm glad you brought up Mike and the kids as well, because that's also part of our journey, and it's personal, but also part of our career path as well. So that's great. So when you became one of the first women tournament directors on the PGA Tour, what did that moment mean to you personally? Like, how did you feel?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I mean,
Hmm.
it was a progression, right? So as we grew ProLink Sport, so I first became so I think I was the second female tournament director on the Champions Tour. So that was kind of a big deal once I started to do that and left Minnesota. I was still part of ProLinks, but Hollis said,
Hmm.
"Listen, I need you to go to Boston." So we moved there when our kids were 3 and 1, had just turned 3 and 1, and then I eventually left ProLink Sports for about 6 years, and I worked for the Red Sox Foundation and Mass General Hospital. So when Hollis, Kavner, got the Valspar Championship, so the management contract to run the Valspar Championship, it was our first, meaning ProLinks, PGA Tour event. And he said, "Listen, you gotta come back. I need you to come back, and do this." And yeah, I was the first female.
Hmm.
It was it was a big deal. It was a big decision personally to
Yeah,
move again at that point. Emerson, our son, had just graduated from high school and was going off to college. So that was easy-ish.
hmm,
Haley, though, our daughter, was a junior in high school. So it was tough. This was probably, as a mother, the toughest decision that I ever had to make in my life. But, she thrived and it was great. And yeah, and it was an opportunity of a lifetime to be the first to be a tournament director
yeah,
on the
yeah,
PGA Tour, let alone a female. I mean, these positions don't pop up. There's only, 40
yeah,
40 plus of us, right,
yeah.
in the country. So it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, virtue is almost like being an NFL head coach. Really, there's not too many people that have those roles, even though they probably have more turnover in those roles than you see on tour.
At least going into this next season,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So for those listening, especially women, along the journey, did you find yourself in rooms where you felt like you had to prove you belong, and how did you kind of push past those feelings?
Yeah, I think it's not only even just as a woman,
Mm,
but just
mm,
even men too. As you're progressing throughout your career, there's always going to be moments, especially as you're moving forward and moving up,
yeah,
where you feel like, yeah, do I belong? Like, am I really ready for this next role? And I think for me, it was always making sure that I truly knew and understood what I was doing, that I did my homework, right? And
yeah,
that I listened to the leaders before me and tried to glean as many good pieces of advice from them as I possibly could. So I never felt I didn't belong. For here, though, becoming a female on the on the PGA Tour, it was unique when you're going out to play recruit because part of your job is to recruit players, right? This is a pro sport where they're independent contractors. They do not have to play your week, and so you have to get them to come. And I distinctly remember your credentials, your PGA Tour credentials allow you to go on the range and the player dining, but also the locker room, and this is probably one of the last pro sports where females were in a locker room, right? Because, you used to be female reporters and so forth. But so I could, I didn't very often, but I do remember going up and talking to them, and they were welcoming, but a lot of the players were kind of like, why is this woman talking to us up
Yeah.
on the range? I had to introduce myself that first year and say,
Hmm.
I'm the new tournament director of the Valspar Championship and so forth.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
Valspar was a new title sponsor. So it was a little, probably the funnest story was actually then our tournament week. So my very first Valspar Championship. I always would make sure that I go and thank all the players for playing. So usually early week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Hmm.
before the competition really gets going. And it was late on Tuesday afternoon, and Rose was on the putting green. So I walked up to him, and I had met him, once or twice, leading into the Valspar. And I said, "Hey, thank you
Hmm.
for coming," and so forth. And a woman was behind my shoulder standing outside the ropes. And I turn around and I'm starting to walk away, and I realize it's his wife. And she's like, "My God," like, "Oh my God, there's a female tournament director on the PGA Tour." She's like, "That is so flipping awesome," and she just went on, and I was like, "Okay, here we go."
Yeah. So you have to recruit the wise first, right?
That's where I probably should have started. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In order to get the players. So, what advice? And it's probably similar in answer, but what advice would you give those to try to claim their seat at the table? Again, perhaps they feel they don't belong, but what advice would you give to them?
Yeah,
To do
it's
that.
really honestly just having confidence in yourself,
Hmm. Hmm.
but confidence that's based upon knowledge and based upon, so the more that you learn and prepare, it's being prepared as much as you can in your career on everything. And if you
Hmm.
have that, then you have the confidence. And then it's just a matter of, not being afraid to speak out, to speak your mind, to give your opinion, and so forth. But you got to do that from a place of confidence and a place of
Yeah.
knowledge. So so I think the seat at the table is just realizing that you really truly can do anything. It sounds cliche, that you put your mind to, but as long as you do the homework and prepare, you can have a really, really successful career. But you got to work hard. You got to work at it. I mean, the number of hours, especially in this industry with
Hmm.
any special event,
Hmm.
that's coming up, you gotta be able to put in the hard work,
Yeah.
and but that helps deliver that seat at the table.
How about leadership? Finding your leadership will, or leadership voice, I should say. And not everybody can lead. But a tournament of this magnitude, you have to lead a lot of people. So how did you find your voice throughout this process?
Yeah, well, luckily for me, I was always, you probably can tell, a rambunctious, sort of kid. Like I was always, an outgoing
Hmm.
person. I always had leadership roles growing up, even, just from grade school, the things that I would do in grade school all the way through. That was just kind of my personality. So I never had to work at it from my natural instinct, but you still have to work hard at it. And I think for me, it was the mentors that I had. It was listening and learning good and bad things from leaders. You can develop yourself learning what not to do by watching someone as much as you can learn what to do, by watching someone. So it's really balancing that and picking up on those things. But then it's really just being grateful for your team. I try. I'm not always the best at it, but I try
Hmm.
every day, to thank not only I've got great colleagues, here at the Valspar Championship and throughout Pro Lice because I manage
Hmm.
multiple events for our company and showing gratitude for them, showing gratitude for our committee chairs and our volunteers, our 2,500 volunteers. Here locally, our Copperheads, which is our host organization, which you are a part of. So trying to show gratitude for everyone's time and effort. I think that is a great leadership skill, and people will follow and listen if they know that you believe in them. So showing my belief in them and gratitude, I think, are the two biggest things. And then there's a bazillion other things that
Yeah,
are
yeah.
leadership too.
So shifting to really talking more about the Valspar Championship, what does this tournament mean to you beyond the competition itself? Because you've seen it from inception, to where it is now, and I'm quite sure it's a big difference or huge growth. But what does it mean to you beyond competition?
Yeah, for me, and it really dates back to why I left Herman Miller, right?
Hmm.
And got into golf. Listen, I play golf, but I never said, "Oh my gosh, I want to work in pro golf one day." That was
Yeah.
never, a driving force. But what I loved about it was PGA Tour golf benefits charity. And so I felt so good about, okay, I'm working super hard, I'm putting in a bazillion hours, but I feel really good and about what I do every day. And I see the tangible impact directly. So for me, and that's part of the Valspar Championship, it's the charity aspect. So there's really, 4 or 5 big things that the Valspar Championship does for this community, right?
Mhm.
Or, so we kinda, talk about our mission, right? So it's first to put on the best PGA Tour pro golf tournament that we can. We are a pro golf tournament, right? So we gotta put on a really, really good one, so that the players come back, etcetera. But then that leads into the economic impact. The tournament has a $75 million economic annual impact into this community between the 22,000 room nights in Pinellas County, the, 10,000 room nights in,
Mhm.
Hillsborough County, all the vendors that we hire locally, etc. The people that come in to Tampa Bay specifically for the tournament. So it's a great economic impact, which is awesome. Um, it does have a lasting tourism impact, because we are broadcast,
Yeah.
126 countries on Up Channel and NBC Sports. So we know anecdotally, a lot of people see and watch the tournament and then go, "Hey, that Copperhead course is pretty cool. So maybe I'll make my next, golf trip, to Innisbrook and come to Tampa Bay." Because we make sure that on the broadcast, we're showing the beautiful beaches, all
Mhm.
the other wonderful things that we all appreciate and know about Tampa Bay, but we wanna make sure the world knows. And then it's certainly quality of life because people, they can come in their backyard and come
Yeah.
watch Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, and, they don't just have to watch them on TV. They're here competing at Innisbrook. So there's a certain quality of life for that, into the community, but in the end, it's all about charity, right? So we raise money. Last year, we were able to give $1.6 million over 80 different charities, in Tampa Bay. That's what I love in the
Yeah.
end. So it's a great job,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah, yep. Great job, great tournament. And one of the things I love about Valspar Championship is those weeks after delivering the checks to those different foundations, taking a tour of their facilities and the impact. Because some I've never even heard of until I went on a tour to. I'm like, oh wow, they do this. This is amazing. And I don't think people understand. They follow social media, you probably could pick up on it, but there's some great people in the community doing some great things, making some tremendous impact. And a lot of it is, thank you to, the Valspar Championship. So
Yeah.
kudos. Great
No, well,
job.
thank you. And, but it's really, again, it's thank you to this community, right? It doesn't happen. If sponsors don't sponsor it, certainly Valspar, for sure, obviously from a, Valspar paint perspective. But there's another 400 companies that are all involved in this tournament past just Valspar. 350 of them locally, 50 of them from across the country, that come in. It's all the fans that buy the tickets. We've got 140,000 people that come and watch this tournament, over the week-long stretch. It's, as I said, the 2,500 volunteers. It's the Copperhead. It's our leadership. We talking about leadership, right? I mean, how lucky are we for the general chairman and Rondé Barber,
Yeah.
that we have? I mean, he is a tremendous asset, to this tournament. He loves this event, loves what we do. It's kind of his. Listen, he would get tugged in a bazillion different ways in Tampa from a charitable perspective, right? And he's very giving, and he does do a lot of those things. But this is he's always said this is his one way of really truly giving back and touching 80 charities, by what he does to help us, at the tournament. And all our copperheads pass that. So
Yeah.
this is a tremendous organization, and there's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. And hopefully through this podcast and other appearances that you have, prior to Valspar, people will understand the bigger picture and the bigger impact that is having on this community. And I'll include a link if for ticket purchases and things in this episode as well. And we look forward to having those people out there at Valspar. What can they look forward to those 4 days at Ennisbrook Resort Copperhead Course?
Yeah, we've kind of morphed our tournament into something where it's happening. It's a place that you need to be, and oh yeah, a golf tournament happens to break out, right? I mean, it's really well past a golf tournament. We have more fans now. I would say that when we first started, you would have had probably 80% of the fans that came were avid golfers, like avid golfers, and maybe 20% were not. I would say now, you're roughly like 65% of people, they don't even play golf. They don't even, they come because they know, wow, the Valspar is Valspar Championship is a great place to be because we have great food options, a big family fun zone. It's a really affordable place to bring your kids. The 15
Hmm.
and under are free. There's an
Hmm.
accompanying golf. Innisbrook is a beautiful piece of property. Like
Hmm.
most don't understand. Like, if I always say, Ian, if you were blindfolded and dropped out of a helicopter, maybe not in August because you would know it was, but like you say you were dropped, onto Innisbrook in May, and you opened your eyes, and we said, "What state are you in?" You'd say North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Innisbrook's a really unique piece of property. So people love that, and just all the activities, the celebrities that we have coming out. So we've got something different that happens every day. Our huge concert, we do a
I was waiting for you to say that because I know
yeah,
you love the concert. I was like, when is he
yeah,
going to mention the concert?
I
Yeah.
know. So anyone that has a Saturday ticket,
Hmm.
we do a big concert right after play. This year we have Lee Brice and Tyler Hubbard, who was formerly with Florida Georgia Line. So we have a huge concert, but there's something every day and activities. And then yeah, we got some great golfers.
Yeah. And some good food too.
Yeah.
Can't forget about those. Some great food vendors. So the Valspar Championship is March 19th to the
Yeah,
22nd.
the 4 days of March
Yeah,
19th
the
through the
4 days to the
22nd. Yeah.
second. And hopefully people come out and enjoy because it's more than golf. But there's some great golf there as well. And we look forward to seeing how many people will come through those ticket gates this year. So what encouragement would you want the young Tracy, the 12-year-old Tracy, to hear as we close out this episode?
Yeah, I would say, just take a risk. Take risks. For me, every big decision, that I made wasn't easy. And
Mhm.
there was an element of risk. I could have stayed at Herman Miller, I left a Fortune 500 company, a great position to go start start a fledgling, brand new, tournament that we really didn't know, for sure how it was gonna go. I took a pay cut to do it, so we had to move to do it. We left family, to go, take a risk. And the same thing when we moved to Boston, same thing when we moved to Tampa. It's don't be afraid, you know, uh, don't always do the comfortable thing.
Yeah.
Don't always do the comfortable thing.
Thanks for joining us, Tracy. Great job with the Valspar Championship. I went from being a non-golfer to a golfer, experience Valspar from both angles, and it's just amazing. So thank you again. Thank you to your team, your staff, the co-chairs of the tournament, Ryan Day, um, and all the Copperheads. And we look forward to seeing everybody March 19th to the 22nd at Innisbrook Resort, Copperhead Course. And to my audience, thank you for listening to another great episode of Grab Coffee with Me, caffeinated by Dowden Golf Solutions. I hope you learned something new today because I did. And if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all major streaming platforms so you don't miss what's brewing next. Until next time, keep your coffee strong and your conversation is meaningful. Thanks again, Tracy.
Thanks, Ian.
Tell Mike I said hello.
Will do.